Welcome, everyone. My name is Aphrodite Xithi. I'm an environmental engineer by training, so this discussion is extremely interesting to me. And if you've paid attention to today, you probably learned about 10 different technologies. So we're bringing a new one into the mix. And instead of me introducing offshore wind, I'm going to ask Mr. Herzog to give a brief presentation and tell us a little bit more about what is happening in offshore energy in general, and specifically in offshore wind. And I'm going to challenge you with a question, because earlier someone today said that they're not very bullish on offshore wind. So if you'd like to comment on that as well, thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Aphrodite. And I'm Chen Herzog, Chief Economist at BDO Israel, working over 25 years in the regional energy sector. And I'm happy here to announce that as of recently also a partner in BDO Advisory Greece, which with our joint venture with BDO Greece on working on economic aspects. And for many years, we have worked with leading regional companies within the offshore and energy market. We've worked with companies like EDF and Chevron, Energean on financial modeling, economic forecasting in energy projects in the Mediterranean. And I think to answer your question, when we are talking about the challenge of energy, it's always a triple challenge. We want energy source that is with low cost, we want low carbon, and we want high energy security. And in our view, we see the potential of offshore energy as an engine that allows to deal with those three targets. And I'll tell you why. Because at the end of the day, we have political challenges, we have geopolitical challenges, but we as economists always like to follow the money. And when we are following the money and we want to understand the economics of offshore power and offshore energy, we understand, yes, seemingly it's always cheaper to do on land. On land, the investment cost seems to be lower. But you have objections, you have neighbors, you have to adjust to your neighbors, you have the NIMBY not in my backyard problem, and when you go offshore, you can utilize economic to scale. And when you see what happened in recent years, how wind turbine cost decreased, and how the size and scale increased, allowing us to take care of economics to scale, you see that if we are able to deal with the offshore frontier, it's challenging, but it has economic rewards. And just recently, 2 months ago, the Trans-European Network set targets for offshore energy for Europe. It's non-binding targets, but they set a compass setting generation targets for offshore wind in the regions, also in the Mediterranean region. And yes, it's challenging for the Mediterranean. It's much easier in the North Sea. The North Sea, the water is shallow, the winds are strong, and in the Mediterranean Sea, the situation is difficult. And the cost accordingly is different. It's also different. Our modeling allows us to encompass the cost of depth and wind. And there are some countries in the Mediterranean, like Greece, like Spain, when we see the ability and the potential for low-cost wind, make it competitive. And I think to understand that and also address your question, when we want to understand should we and can we conquer the offshore frontier, I think we can learn from the lessons of oil and gas. Because up until 3 decades ago, offshore gas was limited, or gas and oil was limited to land, onshore, or shallow water. And in the last 30 years, we conquered the deep water frontier. And I think specifically in the Mediterranean Sea, we once thought we have no gas in the Mediterranean because the Mediterranean is a very deep water sea. And the first project that we did in Mediterranean offshore energy in 2004, it's now 20 years ago, was economic forecasting and modeling and project financing of the first Israeli Yam Tethys field. And today, we have many more activities and oil produced in the Mediterranean with technological advancement. Technology drives cost down drives economics. And when we analyze the potential for renewable energy within the Mediterranean and look at the EU goals that were set just 2 months ago, we can see that regions like Italy and like Greece have the largest potential for offshore wind, which amounts to about 20 gigawatts. And when we talk about, okay, the significance of 20 gigawatts, renewable, can it really help not only for the economics, but for the third target I was talking about, energy security? And we believe that energy security for the Mediterranean area, part of that is being able for the region to produce its own energy, not be reliant on the imported energy. And the potential of the Mediterranean area, one, is wind, but also gas. We have, if you're talking about offshore energy in the Mediterranean, it's a combination. There is no silver bullet. We need to utilize all our Mediterranean sea sources, offshore wind, but also offshore gas. And we still need gas as a transition fuel for the next decades to provide energy security and energy storage for the region. We have just recently learned about potential significant discovery offshore Cyprus, the Electra field by ExxonMobil. And despite the regional challenges, we see the potential to develop those. So to answer the energy security part of the question, our view, or the question we were asking ourselves, can energy generated in the Mediterranean create energy security for Mediterranean bordering countries? Can Europe replace Mediterranean countries, replace the gas that they used to import from Russia in 2021 by energy that it produced in the Mediterranean? And we see here three anchors, three sources that if we combine them all, we can replace almost 80% of the gas that this region imported from Russia before the war. With the Mediterranean countries imported about 47 BCM. Out of 150 BCM that the EU imported, 50 BCM was imported to these countries, to this region. And we see three main projects here that together can replace almost all that gas and create lower cost energy with higher energy security and with lower carbon emissions. And those three projects are offshore renewables, along with the East Med gas pipeline project that has many geopolitical difficulties, but is becoming now more and more, I think, economically viable, which can allow us to import gas from the East Med, from Cyprus, from Israel to the European market. And the Great Sea Interconnector, which is electricity interconnect project connecting from Greece to Cyprus and continuing to Israel and creating a regional energy market. So I believe that this combination really can provide a different view of the potential.
Thank you very much. Very bullish, I see. And in combination with a few different technologies, not just offshore wind. And I think you mentioned one of the things that is one of the themes of today, how do we replace Russian gas, right? I'd like to ask Mr. Herzog, what is your view on the Greek program? Because you've worked all around the East Mediterranean and you have a lot of visibility. So how does the Greek program compare to other programs that you've seen, and how do you rate it?
So I think the challenge for any program to succeed is to create the right economic incentives and to prevent the regulatory obstacles. And I think the key issue here is planning, is gaining public approval and creating a coalition. Because from our experience, the banking system, the business sector, knows and is able to finance these projects. The ability to raise money, if there is economic viability, the ability of the business sector to finance and build is existing. The side of the engineering part is also solvable. But the interaction between regulation and economics and engineering, removing the obstacles, enabling public acceptance, I think this is the key for success.
Thank you for that. I think you're new to Greece. Regulation here is something that exists, and we always try to find a way.
I think it's a challenge we're facing in every country. Every country thinks that its regulation is the worst. It's a challenge that we're facing everywhere. But
we could have a very long conversation about this, but let's keep the conversation focused to energy.